for staying with us. Now I know you have a lot to talk about sending kids back home for brain reset.
I'm against it. I'm completely against it. My parents almost sent me back. And it's not like I was like incredibly bad. I was just, okay, for me, it was like I was struggling in school. School wasn't a very good environment for me. And like I didn't have anybody to like talk to about it because I couldn't. Like if I'm struggling in school, it's like read your books. I needed more help than that. But like, so I was struggling and so it came off as misbehaving. And they wanted to send me back. But God bless my father. At that time, I was this little girl, little princess. So I was like, I can't be without my daughter. Hey! Honestly, bless that so much, but
you're
no.
doing very well.
Yeah, now I'm fine. I mean, you know, I found my passion. I know I wanted to work hard. It's just that the environment wasn't good for me.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. And I turned out fine.
Yes.
Look
You're
at
doing
me.
very good.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Now let's talk about the challenges that we've noticed that our kids actually face here. You know, how do we teach them to handle these challenges and the fears that we have about raising them up in this environment?
The fears are real, I'll tell you that, because I've got girls. And when I look at the way girls here, they're very free, you know. Sometimes I used to walk downtown and I'll go into the mall, I'll see students, high school students, and I'm wondering, so is this like recess time? What are they doing here, hanging out? And I've had, my daughter had this friend who would constantly come to my house. And you know, we as Africans, I mean, you can't bring a friend who your parents don't know their parents, you know? Yeah. And this girl just wants to come and hang out and everything. The first time it was okay. The second time, I'm not okay with it because I don't know your parents. What if anything happens? How do I explain why you're even here in the first place? So part of it for me is the pressure of them feeling like what is happening at home is too strict, is too, you know, not fun enough because they see their friends out there just having fun. So that's one of my major fears. And what do I do about that is I always tell them, look at the goal. Where are you going? A few years from now, when you compare your life and their life, if you see that it's not wrong, then you can come back and say, Mommy, you were wrong. Because at the end of the day, everything you're doing today is adding up to who you become tomorrow. So that's what I just try to tell them. It's still not easy. There's still times they feel like, why can't I hang out with people and everything? And also, I think we should encourage them to have friends. So your children, I don't know, relationship is part of being a teenager. I mean, we had friends too, you know, you want to gossip about who likes who and all of that, you know. So, but instead of just leaving it to them, let them know the friends. I mean, you make it a point of duty to make friends with people who have children that are their age mates and, you know, encourage that relationship. Because when they have those people to mingle with and talk with, then you know that they're having focused conversations and you won't have so much to worry about.
How about the things that they face personally, like in the sense of maybe bullying in school, you know, like, because it's like Tawa is talking about the fact that she was acting out that period because she wasn't comfortable with school, right? So what this is like an example of what she was going through at the point.
I think every black child that comes to Canada will face one form of bullying or the other. It's either they just don't like the color of your skin.
Okay.
It could be something subtle as they just don't feel you're beautiful enough. Like, you know, when girls are talking and they're saying, oh, who is the finest? And you're not even in the list, you know? You're not even in the list. Even if it's at the bottom, you're not even there at all. Or it could even be, I don't understand what you're saying. Why are you talking like that, you know? So my kids had that. You know, my younger one would always come home and be like, Mommy, can we go back to Nigeria? Nobody wants to play with me and everything. And then the older one, hers was like, my daughter, she won't wait for you to come to her. Like I think she's more like, okay, like, yeah, let's go. What's happening? And then she'll come and, Mommy, am I too pushy? And I'll be like, what's happening? Like when I try to play with them, they don't play with me. Then I'll be like, okay, then you wait for them to come to you. And I encourage her to say, you know what, be the best. Sometimes people might not like you, but if you have something they need, they'll come to you.
Definitely.
But now she has a lot of friends. I mean, she's on Teams all the time, helping somebody with this assignment and that assignment. And after the assignment, guess what? They'll gist about what's happening on Gacha Life and this one and that one. So as parents, give your children an identity and
That's
give
the
them
word.
a focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give
That's
them a
good.
focus.
Yeah.
Because I could have, do the African mother thing and go to school and talk to the principal. What is your process for, integrating new students into the school? But I don't want to raise children who can stand on their own.
Yeah,
I
can
mean,
speak for themselves.
All through life, you're going to come up with difficult people.
Yeah.
Mommy is not always going to be there to come and fight the fight. So give them an identity, give them a focus, and be their greatest cheerleader.
Yeah.
Whatever they do, celebrate it. Like my kids know, you get a 4x4, we're going to McDonald's or we're going to the cinema. It's worth celebrating. Let them know that they matter and that their success is your success as well.
Yeah.
I kind of want to bounce off that idea that giving them an identity. I also want you to also encourage, I'm not telling you what to do, but encourage them to also find their own identity as well.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
like it is important to like give them that direction. But please don't force an idea on them.
Yeah.
Definitely
Like
not.
definitely
Yeah.
don't do
Yeah.
that. Let them figure it out. Like teach them, okay, this is right, this is wrong, and then but also encourage them to figure out why this is not right and why this is right. Like for them,
Yeah.
because everyone's different. What you might find this or that is honestly up to them.
So when you have kids, let's just imagine now that you're going to start a family in Canada. What would be your fears about raising your kids here?
My fears. I honestly would be afraid that they'll be scared of the world. Because the world is scary, guys. I'm sorry, it is. Like to this day, I'm scared of the world. And there's so many things that could go wrong. Like my dad is in obstetrics. He always says, I think it can go so right and it can go so wrong.
Yeah.
It's scary. And I think that's what I would fear, like they would, and like it's also that friends thing. I'm afraid that, because show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
tell you who you are.
I'd be scared of like who are they talking to, who are they hanging out with. So I do understand the whole Nigerian parents. I want to know who the parents of the kids you're hanging out with. I totally understand it. It makes perfect sense. When my sister brought friends home, my parents looked at them like,
That's exactly the Nigerian parents look at people.
I understand it, I do, but at the same time, you also kind of have to, in a sense, trust your kids know what they're doing as well, so that you're not too pushy about it, because then they'll feel like, they don't want me to have friends, and that's not true. You want them to have friends, you just want them to have good friends.
The right friends.
So that's where I'd be afraid, but I would, get courage and talk to my mom a lot.
One of my biggest fears would be substance abuse, and this is when I moved to Canada. When I was in Sanya, going to school, I passed through this high school, and then I see kids, out there smoking, and it got me. I was worried. I'm like, these kids are really, really, really young, to be smoking. So that is something. I don't smoke. My husband doesn't smoke because of health issues. So that is something I wouldn't want my child to pick. Different types of substance abuse, and I want to be able to have that relationship with my son, whereby if he is testing new waters, he is confident enough to tell me, and not just believe his friends that say, "Oh, try this. Oh, it's good. Let's do this." So I think that's one of my biggest fears: substance abuse. I want to make sure.
So what are the fears you feel like the kids, still go through?
So, like I mentioned, racism is a big thing. My son was born in Canada, but when he was 2, he had a spinal cord surgery. So we were at the hospital for a while, and in the play area, he had this other brown kid that he was trying to play with, and the kids say, "Hey, I don't want to play. I don't play with black kids.
Wow.
I only play with white or brown." And the nurses were there, and everybody was so
I will be
surprised.
shocked. It's like for
Everybody
a
was
child?
shocked because this child should be more than 6 or 7.
Wow.
So why will you say that? So my son was just 2. He didn't really understand, but I felt really bad as a parent, and I saw the nurses. Everyone stepped in. This is not right. Talk to the parents. They said, "Hey, this is what your child said. It's not acceptable. Your child, the child is visiting his sibling and said, if your child continues, they wouldn't be allowed here.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a very good step.
Everyone stepped in. I saw all the nurses. Everybody stepped in immediately, and they tried to, you know, shut it down. And then after a while, the kid came back and apologized, you know, and then he and my son, they were playing all along.
Yeah,
so,
for a kid to say that, I was very worried about all the things that, you know, he thinks about.
Exactly. So that you know, that's to show you that even if your kid is born here in Canada, it doesn't still
take that away.
It doesn't still take that away.
That's
it's
a very
still
good
there.
point.
So
yeah, that's a very good point. You know, okay, you're talking about the substance abuse. You know, it's a very big issue in Nigeria. It's a problem in the world right now. And the substance abuse in Nigeria is gone way beyond what people can actually control.
I see that.
Even in high school.
Yes.
It wasn't
totally
something
agree.
that we're used to seeing kids, you know, in high school
I know.
smoking. You can't do that in school.
In high school, we only smoked paper. We just rolled paper and we smoked
I was practicing.
So that was the only thing we did. But now these kids that experimenting.
I think in our time it was there too, but it wasn't like in your face.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The people
But now it's
doing
in your
it,
face.
you would know that okay, these are the bad people.
But now
and
it's
they
in
would
your
sneak
face.
away to do it. Yeah,
Even
but
back
now
home, it's in your
out
face,
there.
and it's something people are beginning to talk about. But the control are still not. It's still not in place in Nigeria. It's becoming a menace. Seriously, the substance abuse. So I think it's a fear of every mom or parent right now. So lastly, before we call it a day on the session, now we've talked about the kids' behavior, how we actually approach them. What are your thoughts about seeking professional help for kids? You know, when you notice they start misbehaving or exhibiting characters that are, you know, weird. Do you think it's something that we African parents are open to? Are we going to start doing it? I don't know if we actually start doing it.
Look, let me tell you, I am up for seeking that professional help. My husband and I, we did attend these classes online during the COVID period, and it's called Building Better Behavior. And one of the reasons why we took those classes was to help us to understand different parenting style, because what you know is what you were taught.
Yes.
You know, so
true.
we want to unlearn some of the things that we grew up with, or our parents passed down to us as, you know, culture or discipline form. So we did Building Better Behavior classes, and it was fantastic. You know, we were taught different parenting styles, because now you're in Canada, culture, you know, there's a cultural shift. Yeah. So you need to know what you're doing. You can't just use that same tone, that same idea, that same discipline that you use back home. Exactly. You know, so you have to be that backbone for your kids. So I will strongly encourage parents here that if you are struggling, if you think, what am I doing? You're not a bad parent.
Yeah.
Seek help. Do it. Don't wait. Don't say, hey, don't pray it away. Amarachi, this is very common with our don't pray it away. These things are there. These professionals are there to help you. Yes, pray, but seek help.
Agreed. And I'm with you. I don't think they're utilizing it or opening up as much as I would like them to. I really encourage that if your kid is misbehaving, whatever, it might be something else. Like I said, when I was in school, I struggled. If I had somebody to just sit down and talk to me, I think I probably would have been better. Let me tell you, when my parents left me in South Africa for 6 months by myself, and I was in the boarding school and I had somebody to talk to, she wasn't even a counselor, she was just a person that was there, V. I spoke to her every now and again. My grades shot up, top 5 in class.
Wow.
Because I was less stressed, I was less freaked out, I was in a better environment. It makes a difference. It does.
To have someone else to talk to.
Yeah. And guys, if they can't talk to you and they can't talk to somebody, they'll find some other way to cope.
Yes.
Trust.
Some other
They
way. And
will.
that's the fear.
And that's where the fear comes from.
That's where the fear comes in. Those fears that we're like, oh, we don't want them to get into this, get into that. When you're not talking to them, then they'll definitely find someone to talk to.
That's true. For a lot of African parents, I don't think it's so much that they don't want to talk to people, but I think it's the understanding of what therapy is or counseling. And then we also have this mindset that, oh, they're going to teach my children Oyinbo standard, so to speak. You know, they're going to teach them to talk back. But that's not actually what happens. Their ethics, they can't talk. It's like you go to a doctor, even if that doctor is an atheist or an idol worshiper, it doesn't get into your conversation. You're there for medical consultation, and that's the same thing that happens in therapy. Because a lot of parents are worried, oh, she'll go there, they'll say it's all the things I've taught her that is wrong.
You mean
They'll
like
tell her
for religious parents, right?
Yeah. So all the things I've said is wrong, they're going to say it's right. But I don't think that's it. So
Well, I've been to
for-
therapy.
So
I have actually been to therapy
it's not
here,
like that.
and trust me, it has
And
nothing to do with
Yeah,
religion.
so
It's just
I think
you.
that's one of the fears, because I've had this conversation with people, and that's always the worry that, no, I'm not going. Before they'll go, come and undo everything that I have done, you know?
You know, sometimes parents may say, oh, if I seek help, people will think I'm a bad parent. People will think,
Yeah, I think
people
more.
will think,
People will feel like you're not.
You're
They
not-
start feeling like you're not working
you're not,
enough.
yeah,
like
you
you're
don't
not
know
doing
what you're
enough.
doing.
You
Yeah,
know,
I think
stuff like
that's
that.
one of the things, you know, because in
I feel
Nigeria,
like some of
we
those
hardly
videos
do
that
that.
we see online where you see teenagers rebelling against their mom or dad, maybe when they live in the US or in Canada or other Western countries, it could have been, I don't think it started that very day.
No,
I'm
definitely
sure the
not.
mom, maybe not the dad, but the mom would have noticed when this behavior, you know, if you seek help at that point, because from what like Ms. Oputa said, the lady who commented on our Instagram page, sometimes they're seeking for attention. There's an underlying factor. You know, when one of my previous jobs, I had one of my managers say, oh, we're seeing a therapist for our son. I was like, really? Is it for you or him? I says, oh, all of us. He's seeing someone else, and we are also seeing someone else regarding him. So I think what he was trying to say is maybe they're not listening to him. They need someone to help them listen to him, and maybe he has something to say to them that they are not even getting. So I think it's a good idea to actually go for therapy, like seek professional help. Most times you get to see or know the underlying problems and tackle it from there. If you're not getting to the source of the problem, then it just,
I mean, even
you know,
from the example that Oge cited the other time, a lot of our parents were aggressive because of the exposure that they have. And a lot of us too, there is residual aggression because of how we were brought up as well. And if we're not self-aware, we will transfer that to them also.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We have come to the end of today's session. It was very juicy for me. I learned a lot here too. But one thing I want to put out there is for African immigrants living here, reality is what you're living now. So unlearning some cultural beliefs about training a child would actually bring peace between you and the child. Trying to understand the child you're living with and trying to find other means as opposed to force. Like I always say, whatever I say is law. That doesn't work all the time. So let's try and actually blend in with the child or the kids and see how that goes. Hopefully everything turns out well. Let us know what your thoughts are on today's discussion on our social media platforms. To take good care of yourself, like I always say, stay safe. Bye-bye.